Thank you for tuning in to Being Brunswick. I'm your host, Megan Bishop with the Brunswick County Chamber. I would first like to thank my sponsors, Dane Delane Salon in Ocean Isle Beach and Surf Unlimited, for my hair, makeup, and wardrobe. You will see my different trends throughout the show. Today is a very special show for me because I am the event planner of the North Carolina Oyster Festival, and it's all about the oyster today. We will be going to see Michael Abershakra and Keith White and seeing a little bit about how they make and how they do the commemorative items for the festival. Also, I will be sharing some new updates of the festival, new vendors, new contests, and much more. Stick with us for this episode of Being Brunswick, all about the North Carolina Oyster Festival. I'm here with Michael Abershakra with Brynn Elizabeth Jewelers. Thank you, Michael, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You have been on the Oyster Festival show for quite a few years, and you've been doing commemorative items for the festival for the past 4 years. You've done a necklace, you've done earrings, and a bracelet. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then this year we're going to actually show what we're doing. So I'm excited about this year. It's going to be a little different. You're actually going to show me how to make one of the commemorative pieces. So that's what we're going to do today. But before we start that, tell me a little bit about the business here.
Well, this business was kind of the realization of a lifelong dream. I started in jewelry about 15 years ago. I used to do work for a lot of big retailers, a lot of repair work. And a lot of the stuff I realized was not as the quality of stuff that I wanted to deal with. And so I did work for several other places, traveled around the country as a traveling jeweler for a while. But I always had the dream to have my own place where I could control the quality. I wasn't working for a big corporation that was really just about the bottom line. I wanted to be able to service the customers, service the jewelry, and really just be the best at this that I could possibly be. So 4 years ago, with my newborn daughter being 6 months old, we opened Brynn Elizabeth Jewelers, which is named after her, which she is happy to tell everyone that I work at her jewelry store.
That's right.
So 3 years ago, we added Kyle. Kyle's one of my best friends. We grew up together. He came in nights and evenings after work and started working on some stuff. He's accelerated to the point now that I trust him with just about everything. He does all of my repair work. Now I'm to the point that I very rarely touch a repair. I'm doing primarily custom jewelry. This year we've already made close to 40 pieces, which is more than we were able to do all year last year. So this year we actually moved into a new location. We bought a store, which is a lot more work conducted. We're able to do a lot more here than what we were able to do in our other shop there. And
our viewers will get to see the new shop as the show goes on. So thank you for letting me know a little bit about the shop. I love the new location. So we're going to just jump right in. So we're going to start making the necklace for this year for the 36th annual North Carolina Oyster Festival. So
this process started a few months ago, digging around for shells like it usually does. Found one that we really like. This year's shell had a hole in it naturally. I like to showcase some imperfections on things, especially when it's nature making it. And we explain a lot of times at the Oyster Festival what process goes into, because a lot of people don't know just how much work. I get a lot of people ask me, so you dip the shell in silver, or things like that. So what I'm hoping to show today is the process and the amount of work that goes into it.
I mean, just the process of going to the beach and finding that perfect shell. You always tell the story in the past that the families kind of look at you funny on the beach because you're down there looking for that perfect shell, and they're looking at you like, what are you doing?
Why is this fat bald guy on the beach looking at the dirt?
Yeah, so it is truly a process. So what's the first step?
All right, so the first step is we found the shell. So that was our first step. Now our next step is to actually make a mold of the shell. What we have here is vulcanizing rubber. This comes in sheets. We're going to pack this around the shell. It's going to go into a heated press that's going to cause these to vulcanize or become one around the shell. And once that happens, we'll take it out. We'll be able to remove the shell. We have a void left there that's the exact shape of the shell. And from there, we'll show you the next step.
And I have never done anything like this before, so we're gonna.
All right, so first step we're gonna do, this is our vulcanizing rubber. You're gonna peel off both sides.
Okay.
And you may be better at this than I do.
With my nails.
You've got some fingernails. All right.
Okay. Sticky on both sides. Ooh. Well, I thought I'd be with nails, but maybe not. There we go. Okay.
We'll edit in a professional doing it, and then that way it'll look like you're really good at that.
That's right.
Now you want to put the diamond side down. You have a pattern on one side, and one side is smooth. So the diamond side wants to go down. You want to press it up against, because once it hits, it's going to want to stick. So you're going to want to press it up against this side and get it in there nice and flat.
Okay.
All right, so we've got 6 layers we're going to do on this piece total.
Okay.
So we're going to do 2 just like that.
Okay.
Now this plate's going to go on top, and we're going to go back to the other room to the vulcanizer.
Okay, we'll be right back.
All right, so now we've got our mold packed. What we've done is we've come back here. This is called a vulcanizer. What this is doing is heating from both the top and the bottom. This particular molding rubber that I use is very heat sensitive, so that's why we're measuring the temperature, because it cannot get any hotter than 310 degrees. But it needs to be in that 250 to 310 range. So we've got that measured. The plates are preheated, so we know that's in good shape. So we will open this up, and then I'm going to have you slide this right in between the 2 plates. And then I'm going to get Kyle to sneak over here and hold on to this, because we're going to have to put a lot of pressure.
Okay.
You can bolt it down, but I have a Kyle, so we're going to bolt.
We got muscles. Oh, wow.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
So this is going to sit here for 42 minutes. We have to do 7 minutes per layer. We've got 6 layers, so there's 42 minutes. What's going to happen at the end of that is all of those layers that we put in there will become one, like I said, leaving the void for the shell there. Okay. All right, so we'll let that set, and we'll move on to the next. Okay. All right, now we've made our mold. What we've already removed the shell and the sprue base out of it. Okay. So what we have here is an indentation of the shell. So now we're going to inject liquid wax. That's what this guy's here. We've got it hooked up to an air compressor, and we've got molten wax inside. Okay. So it's under pressure. So now we're going to take the plates top and bottom so that we're squeezing evenly across the mold.
And put a little bit of pressure on it.
You're going to put a pretty firm grip on it.
Okay.
And you're going to press it right into this nozzle and count for about 3 seconds while you do it. All right, now straight up.
It's a lot. Sorry.
And you're good.
Okay.
Keep the pressure steady. All right, now you can let go.
Okay.
All right. So from this, we're going to go back up front, and we're going to get it ready to go in the oven.
Okay.
All right.
So let's go front.
All right. So we've got our wax mold. We've injected it. It's solidified now.
Okay.
So we have an exact model of the oyster that we originally put in.
Okay.
So now what we've got to do is get this ready to cast. This is going to be our mold holder. So we're going to attach it to this. I've already put some wax there.
Okay.
So what I'm going to have you do is, I have a little hot pin here. So you're going to heat this up and cause it to melt a little bit, and then stick it right there. Okay.
Okay.
And you want it to go in as straight as possible.
Okay.
Right,
Can I hand that to you?
Yeah.
Get a little bit more.
I'll hold the piece.
Okay.
All right. There we go. Now hold
Straight
it.
as possible. It's
Yep,
going to be
hold
difficult.
it right there for it to cool for a second. All right.
Okay.
So now I'm going to get a little wax off the top here and go around and make sure that we don't have any gaps. So what you got to think about when we're casting is we're going to have liquid metal flowing. And so we want to create as few restrictions as possible for that metal to get in.
Okay.
So we'll put this back in the holder. And now we're going to lay this guy here. All right, so that is ready.
Okay.
So this guy's gonna get slid right down onto the base.
Over here.
Use that to start on one side or the other
Go all the way down.
and work it around until it goes all the way down.
Okay.
And with that, we're back to the casting room.
Okay.
All right, so our next step here is we've got the oyster shell that we sprued and put in our flask here. So now what we've got to do is mix the plaster. I've already pre-measured the water and our plaster. This is not something you want to breathe, so hence my respirator here. I'm going to get you to step back for just a second while I get this going. Once I get everything wetted down and start mixing, then you can step back over.
Okay.
All right, so we've got it all wet up.
Okay.
We've got a pretty short working time here. So I've got our timer going.
Okay.
So with this, we're gonna do 1 minute on low. So there we have our mixture.
Okay.
So it looks kind of like waffle dough. Now what we want to do is by mixing it there, we added a lot of air to this. So So we're gonna put this dome over it, and we're gonna vacuum all of those air bubbles out of there. We'll shoot vacuum pump oil all over the place, which is no fun.
No.
So that, I'm gonna have you grab that and pour it right in here. Yep. You're gonna pour it almost to the surface, but not quite. Just want to keep going. You want to make sure you got the shell completely covered. Oh, keep going.
Keep going.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
So now, again, we want to take the air back out of that. So we're going to go back over here for another 90 seconds.
Okay.
Turn it off. Now this sits for 4 hours. It takes 4 hours for all of the bonding and things to happen.
Do you have to cover it, or just sits just like this for 4 hours?
Yeah, you leave it sitting untouched, because now that we've vacuumed it and we've started this process, we don't want to mess with it. We don't want anything to jar it or cause any problems.
Okay.
After 4 hours, we'll come in here, we'll remove the duct tape from the top, which just acts as an overflow protector because we feel it pretty close to the top. And we remove this rubber base off of it.
Okay.
And then from there, we go to our casting. All right, we're at the last step now. I went ahead, it takes 12 hours for the flask to burn out once we've loaded it in the oven, and for the mold to cure properly. Okay. So last night I went ahead and put some in so we'd be ready to cast those today. What we've got here in the crucible is silver casting grain. I'm gonna get that melted. We've got our vacuum here. So when I get the metal melted and ready, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'm gonna have you open the oven and take out our flask and set it right on there. What that's doing is creating suction, a downward suction, so that it's pulling the liquid down to fully fill the mold. And I've got a little borax here. What that's gonna do is any oxidation that starts to form on the metal, it's going to help clean that off, or any dirt as well.
Okay.
Silver is a little different because it conducts heat so quickly. So the whole unit wants to heat at the same time. So I use a little softer flame. I'm also trying to heat the flask that it sits in itself. Because if I just concentrate on the metal and get it hot, when I go to pour, as it rolls across that cooler flask, it's going to start to solidify before I'm able to pour it into my mold. I used to be of the mind that you wanted to melt the metal as fast as possible. So I used to come in with a really big hot flame. In my young day, that's what you want everything fast. I've since learned that you're actually better to go with a softer flame that helps prevent oxidation from forming on the metal.
Okay.
And again, I started concentrating my torch around the flask to heat the whole thing. A little borax on there, deoxidize. All right. We'll flip this on, and I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
It is hot in there, so just use your gloved hand.
I'm afraid I'm gonna drop it.
Use the
bigger?
Either use that part right there, yeah, and get it to where it's got a clamp on it.
I do not want to drop this.
Not so much the point. See how they got the V's? Yeah, there you go. Hold it nice and tight. Set it on there. All right. Go. So you see the vacuum pulled that metal right down. The investment, like I said earlier, we want it to be porous enough that we're getting airflow out, so any of the gases that are created from the molten metal hitting coming in contact with the mold itself, that's all able to escape. So after that sits there for just a minute or so and starts to solidify, we can go ahead and release our pressure.
Okay.
Turn that off. we're gonna move this off of our flask. And next is the most fun part. Or I always thought it was the most fun part. We get to dunk it in water and watch all this cool stuff happen.
Okay.
All right. So this time you can use both hands if you like. It's a little bit warm, but you're gonna grab that again and dunk it in the water.
That is really hard.
There you go. And if you drop it in there, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Just turn it sideways, flat.
Like this?
Yep. There you go. Like I said, just okay if it drops.
And what is it doing?
This has been baking for 12 hours. It's at about 1200 degrees right now. That plaster is extremely dehydrated. So as soon as it hits the water, it's having some thermal shock going on, and it's just completely disintegrating. So now when we reach in here and we pull out, most of the plaster is going from the inside. Rinse what's left on here. And there you have a freshly cast.
It looks pretty.
Silver piece.
We did good. Okay, Michael, we're getting ready to attach the pearl. Is that correct?
Correct. We've cast the shell. We've pre-finished it. And so what we're going to do at this point is we're going to make the bar that's going to hold the pearl in place.
Okay.
So you're going to take this. We've got our flame going, and it is a pretty hot flame, so be careful. Bring the tip of this silver wire close to the cone, just long enough to melt a little bead. There you go.
Okay.
All right, so that's perfect.
Wasn't too
So
bad.
now that we're done with that, and that is hot, so I don't recommend doing that. We're just going to feed it right through the pearl.
Okay. It's just hard to do with nails. Thank you.
So we have all of that ready. And what we've got to do is head over to the laser and laser weld all of that on, with pearl being so, pearl can't take any heat, so we can't solder. A lot of people would leave that loop that we made on top of the pearl open with the thought that the pearl's not going to pull it open. I like to overbuild, so I want to give that a tack weld to make sure that that doesn't pull open, that nobody's losing their pearl.
Okay.
In the event that they do, or they break the chain, we always take care of anything
Right.
we make anyway, but we're going to want to weld that shut.
Okay. Well, Michael, we have the finished product right here. Absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited about this piece for the festival this year. It's taken us a few hours to do this. It's a very long process. I appreciate it a little bit more now after seeing it. When you're doing this, you're doing, you said 10 to 15 at a time, so it takes
We typically
4 to 5 hours.
We use a little bit larger flask than what we did for the one. For the purpose of the show, we just did one at a time. I usually cast about 6 at a time.
Okay.
Then we'll cast multiple flasks in a burnout there at the oven, and so we'll do anywhere between 15, 20 at a time, and it takes several hours to get them all to completion.
You'll have 50 of these at the festival this year, is that right?
Correct.
This takes a lot of patience and a lot of time, so we really appreciate you letting me come in and see the process. And like I said, you'll be at the festival. You'll have your booth right beside Keith.
That's correct.
So if anyone wants to purchase one, they can see you.
All right.
So thanks so much, Michael.
Thank you, Megan.
I'm here at the Brunswick Beacon. I'm with Keith White, our local artist. He also does our prints for the North Carolina Oyster Festival. Keith, thanks so much for being on the show this year.
Thank you.
How long have you been doing the Oyster Festival prints?
This is the 8th year.
Wow. And you do a little bit of a different theme every year. So we are actually showing this print for the first time. So our viewers are getting to see this a month before the Oyster Festival. So that's very exciting. These prints are available at the Oyster Festival in your tent. Let's talk a little bit about this year. How did you start? What is your theme for this year?
Well, the last few years I've had a kind of a running theme with an old couple that have been harvesting oysters and then taking them home and having an oyster roast. This year I kind of changed it up a little bit. I actually still have the couple in the background here, but I wanted to go with a kind of like a father-daughter, or just some younger people involved.
Okay.
Kind of like a new generation being taught the ways of oystering and stuff like that and everything. And actually, I actually had a daughter was born this year with me and my wife.
I love it. I love it.
And so I wanted to kind of bring a little girl into it.
You actually had a little boy there originally, and then you changed it to a little girl. So that means I know a whole lot to you, but it's special to us as well. Keith, you also do our design for our t-shirts, and you've been doing that for a while, and you also do kind of a theme for that every year. So this year, we're actually going to show our viewers what our back of our t-shirt looks like. Tell me a little bit about what you did with that design this year.
Well, this year I still have Ozzy involved and stuff, but I kind of wanted to give it more of an older style, a little bit of a retro look to it.
It's kind of a classic look too. We've talked about it a little bit. Very, very different than what you've done in the past. It always has Ozzy in it, but it normally in the past has been kind of a caricature type of design, and this is more of a classic design. So it's probably my favorite. This is probably one of my favorite prints as well because of the colors, and the colors on the t-shirt are awesome as well. These will be available at the festival in your tent. We will also have them at our pre-party for the Oyster Festival in October. So anything else you want to tell us about this print for this year? Is this one of your favorites, or what's your favorite?
Well, I would have to say this would be
because of the little
probably
girl?
the connection. Yeah.
I know. Are you going to have this one framed in your house?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
I frame it every year and put it in my house, so they're always very, very special to me, and I know our viewers look forward to seeing the print come out every year. You also, because you're a local artist here in Brunswick County, you also do a lot of other paintings and a lot of other stuff. Tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you do.
I do a lot of scratch board and pen and ink drawing and stuff. I've also started recently doing a lot of surfboards, taking old surfboards and doing portraits and images on the bottom of them.
And you've done some, I don't know exactly what it's called, the black with
That's the scratch board.
Yes, it is. I love that. That's really, really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Now, how do you do this? What do you use to make this print?
This medium is actually acrylic.
Okay.
And I just use it like watercolor. You can really wash it down. But that's all acrylic on illustration board, actually. Okay.
And if someone wanted to contact you to maybe do something for them, a surfboard, or contact you about the print, where could they contact you, or how do they contact you?
They can actually, I do have a Facebook page, just Keith White Artist. They can go to my Facebook page, or you can contact me by email. It's kwhite@gmail.com.
And they can also find you here at the Brunswick Beacon.
That's it. I'm always here.
Well, thanks, Keith, so much for being on the show, and we look forward to seeing you at the festival.
All right. Thank you.
Join us this year for the 36th Annual North Carolina Oyster Festival on October 15th and 16th in Ocean Isle Beach. We are so excited for another year. We have new vendors, we have contests going on, we have the Oyster Stew Contest, we have the Oyster Eating Contest, and the Oyster Shucking Contest. So join us that weekend. You can find all the schedules on our website. We also have 7 different bands that will be out there Saturday and Sunday. Make sure to check out our new oyster vendor, A Shucking Good Time, out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. He will be selling fried and steamed oysters and lots of other food items. We will also have an oyster shooter vendor that will return. She was there last year. And lots of other food items, seafood, lots of soups. So please join us for a great weekend of arts and crafts vendors, food, music, and so much more. Also, the North Carolina Oyster Festival is presented by Novant Health. Make sure to check out our new kids area. We will have several vendors over there in the museum parking lot, but also we will have 4 new blow-ups provided by Airplay Events out of Wilmington. We will have a kids pass, all day unlimited jumping, so make sure you check out that area. Again, the North Carolina Oyster Festival is October 15th and 16th, presented by Novant Health in Ocean Isle Beach. Please join us for a great weekend.